What's up, guys? Just want to make a quick video here to show you the easiest and fastest way to do your knock sensors on a 3rd gen 4runner. There's a couple of videos already out there, but they kind of make it a little more complicated than it needs to be, taking off the fuel rails and stuff. So I just wanted to make a quick video showing you the easy way to do it. I've got the upper intake already kind of taken apart, but I'll go through real quick to show you where you need to disconnect things. So these are all the tools you're going to need. Really, it's not that many. This is obviously optional. You could just use a regular socket wrench for that, but it does make your life a little easier. Just speeds things up. 12, 14, 19 millimeter wrench, maybe also a 10, depending on how easy it is for you to get to a couple things. 10, 12 for your 1/4 inch ratchet. There's some various pliers. These hose pliers are pretty helpful if your hoses are stuck. Extension. This is for the knock sensors themselves. You could have a 27 millimeter crow's foot or just a regular. Probably having a bendy wrench that ratchets would help. And then a torque wrench to tighten things down on the way, putting it back together. And then 10, 12, and 14. They don't have to be deep sockets, but I use them with this so it reaches a little better. But that's pretty much it. Oh, and a pick might come in handy too for electrical connectors, but really you could use anything, pen or something. For this job, you're gonna want to drain your coolant. You're gonna be touching, disconnecting some coolant lines. So to do that, it's just down here. Should be a petcock right here. If you don't, you could just disconnect your coolant line right there. It should drain about 2 gallons out. I think the whole system holds 3, but yeah, to make it go faster, you can go ahead and just unscrew your radiator cap. Just make sure your engine's cold. So I have a cold air intake, so it's a little bit different than stock, but basically you just disconnect this line here, this line here. You might need to unplug your mass airflow sensor, disconnect it from the throttle body, and you can kind of just push it up out of the way. This is the cruise control throttle. Came from right here. You can just disconnect that. Should have a tube coming from the upper intake going down here to disconnect. These are sometimes different, but mine has 2 electrical plugs, one down here, one up here. There's, I believe, an oil line down here to disconnect. This came off. And then there's a coolant line here, and a coolant line here to disconnect. There was a line coming out the front of it right here, which is this little line. I just tucked it over here. Then there's your main throttle cable. It was underneath that bolt right there. You disconnect it from there. You don't have to take it off the bracket because you might need to adjust your throttle if you do that. Just unbolt it. There was a bolt here for this line, and then 2 tubes right here. This one and this one. There was this tube right here, which I guess you didn't need to do that yet, but because that's on the lower. And I just went ahead and unclipped this diagnostic thing from here. And then you have a bunch of 12 millimeter bolts. This is a nut and another nut back here. I guess it's not lined up right, but whatever. And then bolt, bolt, bolt. Actually, no, that's just a nut. So 2 bolts here, 2 bolts here and back here. And then I think that's it. You just pop this off. So then you have this bolt right here. So you can move this just up and out of the way. Tuck your tubes out of the way. Went ahead and undid this one. That's a 10 millimeter. I like to just put the bolts back in the holes where it makes sense. There's another 10 down here, and another 10 down here. And then all you got is this one right here, which is, I believe it's another 10. Let me take that off real quick. I got the 10 mil right here. There we go, just got this off. That just holds the wiring harness right there. Not quite enough room to tuck that back into the hole it goes. So toss that into my bag here. I'll just use a couple of Ziplocs to keep track of things. So you're gonna wanna get rid of this gasket and replace it. It's pretty much single use, and clean up this surface here. Next step is just some more 12 mil bolts and nuts. There's one right there, there, and here. So this thing I just got makes your life so much easier. You should really look into getting one of these. If you don't have one, it will make this job go twice as fast. Just break them free before you use it though. All right, so we got our 2 nuts, 1 on each end, 2 bolts down here, and this final long bolt right there. And then our 3 10 millimeter bolts down here, all taken off, so they should just pop right off. Alrighty. And then here's another gasket you're going to want to replace and clean up. Again, I'm doing this job for the second time because I used off-brand knock sensors the first time, so I'm just going to leave that. Still seems fine. So next you're going to want to unplug your fuel injectors. It's just a little pinch. If this hasn't been done before, you're going to have plastic around these wires, kind of like that. It's probably going to disintegrate when you touch it, so you might want to re-wrap the wires in electrical tape or thermal tape, just to be safe. So there's your 3 injectors on the driver's side. Got the 3 on the passenger side. Come on. Yeah, there we go. All right, and then you have these 2 plugs right here. Grab a pick. So a couple of picks like this are going to come in handy on this job, just for a couple of connectors. For this one, you're going to want to just press down here, and for this one, it's got the same thing put on the other side. Come on, focus. On the darker gray part, you get the idea. There's another clip. I only have one hand. So now that you have those undone, next thing you're going to want to do is unplug your coils over here so that it just makes it easier to move these wires out of the way. And then you can move your spark plug wires out of the way just a little bit. And then you should be able to just fish this over a little bit. That's good enough for now until we move some other things. tuck this towards the firewall. You can remove this coolant line that was connected to the throttle body if you want. I didn't need to, I just kind of rotated it out of the way. One less thing to keep track of. Next, just get some basic pliers, come over here to the coolant line right here. Twist it. Just gotta be careful with these rubber lines. Hose pliers like these come in handy for stuff like this. I think I got them for like 13 bucks. A set of 3 of them at Harbor Freight. All right, I'm gonna have to use 2 hands. All right, so got that disconnected. Now I'm just gonna come over here and you'll see these 2 lines coming out the back. Follow these down. They come to right here. These are your fuel lines. This is your input and your output, whatever that's called. This one, you could just use pliers to get that off. Be aware, some fuel will probably drip out. Got that disconnected. Try to catch some of this fuel. It doesn't really matter if it drips out though. Just don't want it getting in your eye. The next steps. For the other line, you're going to want a 14 and a 19 mil wrench. I try to just spin the smaller one. Pretty much hand tight from there. Comes off. Some more fuel will probably come out. There you go. Now you're going to want to take off your top coolant hose. Go ahead and take this one off so it's easier to spin around. Just twist. Once it breaks free, just shimmy it off. Just rotate that out of the way. Now with a 10 mil socket, you can take these top 4 timing cover bolts off. There's one there, there, and you might have 1 or 2 down below, but you might not even need to take those off. So yeah, I just took off the top 4, and this bottom one down here was already missing from a previous owner. You don't have to take it all the way off, just enough to have it give some room for this part to clear right here. Here is your knock sensor wire. Yeah, so next thing is just really the next step is just to take the whole lower intake off, whatever that's called. I guess it's the lower intake. You don't have to touch the fuel rails. You just have, it just makes it a little bit harder to get to some of these bolts, but I'll show you that. There is a little electrical connector tucked away back here that you're gonna wanna take off. Probably go ahead and do it now so you don't forget and pull on it and you end up taking this whole thing off. I think it's just a pinch and pull. You're gonna need 2 hands to wiggle your way back there probably, but it's just one pin. One thing I've done to make your life a little bit easier is take some tape, grab these, and just kind of tape them up like that out of the way, just so they're not in your face the whole time. You can do that here in the back and on the other side. All right, so I got these taped up and out of the way. This back one is most in the way usually, and then this one. Just run the tape all the way to your fenders. All right, so now you just have 8 bolts, 4 nuts. The nuts, really important. They come off with a washer on them, but they will leave behind another washer on top. So you want to make absolutely sure you get all 4 of them, 1 on each corner, because when you go to wrestle this thing out, one of them will fall into your engine, and you'll have to get a borescope to find it, if you find it. Ask me how I know. Luckily mine just fell on top of the transmission, but very scary and delayed process last time. If any of these are gonna hold you up, it's gonna be this one back there. You wanna get yourself something like this to crack it loose. After that, you're gonna either want a really shallow socket, or you're just gonna have to wrestle it out with your fingers. Yeah, if anything's gonna hold you up, it's gonna be that. The rest of them are pretty easy to get to. Well, actually I lied. This actually gets at it pretty easily. It doesn't get stuck under that fuel line right there. So with a 12 mil socket, I'm gonna go ahead and crack loose all of these. You don't wanna use anything but your own power to do this slowly for the first couple of turns. So I'm just gonna kind of crisscross back and forth from the middle out. So there's 8 of these. That one we just did first in the corner just to make sure we could get at it. That was one of them, so there's 7 more. You get the idea. So once you have those 7 cracked loose, you can go ahead and crack these nuts on the end. This is one of them. Crack that off. So I'm going to be extremely careful here. Show you once I get this off. Okay, so there's the nut. Looks like it has a washer on it, but there's still another washer on there. If I can get it off. It's a little hard because it's on a stud, but all right, got it out. So you got that on each corner. Don't forget about these. So those 8 bolts that you're taking out, you're gonna have 2 different lengths. You don't really have to keep track of it, besides just know that the longer ones go towards the middle, the shorter ones go towards the edges. I also forgot to mention, it's probably a good time to cover this up. So I'm just gonna take this gasket off. You know what, actually I'm gonna leave it so I don't mess it up. But I'm just gonna tape over this so none of these bolts or washers or dirt falls in there. Don't forget about this one all the way in the back. It's one of the nuts with the washers, so be careful. Come at it. You might wanna, I guess you don't need it, but you might wanna swivel. Of course, don't do it all the way with a wrench, or when you go to take the wrench off, it'll fall straight down into the engine. Just do it the rest of the way with your hand. All right, got the 8 bolts off, 4 nuts, 4 washers. Last thing you gotta do is this 12 mil bolt right there. After that's out, you should be able to wiggle this. And now it's time to wrestle it out. You just gotta go slow. Keep this out of the way, and then you just gotta fish out these two fuel lines from around the back. I took this off last time just to make it a tad bit easier. You don't really have to. Yeah, let me see if I can rig it away so you can watch me do it. All right, so this is your last chance to make sure there's nothing that's gonna fall into your engine while you wiggle this out. Just wanna move this knock sensor wire around this part. Now just take your time. Let's get off the stud. Almost. There we go, off the stud. Up, forward. Get these fuel lines. Start moving in the right direction. There you go. And just like that, we're pretty much done. I would recommend, before doing anything else, getting a vacuum, sucking up all the little bits of dirt around these gaskets. And then, yeah, so here you can see the knock sensor wiring harness. It just clips in right here, plugs in to the two sensors. Go ahead and tape up these holes, and then you can undo the knock sensors with a 27 mil. Just regular wrench would work, but I have here like a crow's foot, I think it's called. You don't want to over tighten these. They're spec'd for 29 foot-pounds, but really you can just kind of feel when it bottoms out. Don't go past that or you'll break off the threads on the knock sensor. And yeah, so when you put it back together, you want to make sure your wiring harness goes right here. There's a slight divot here that it's meant to go right there. Make sure you use Denso Toyota sensors. Just buy the expensive ones. They should be about $140 each. $30 wiring harness. Don't be like me doing this job a second time because I got my sensors on eBay. So here we have one on the right's the old one. One on the left was one of the new ones. You can see I broke it, over tightening it. I think the previous owner also used knockoffs. I tried to get away with knockoffs. It didn't work either. I'm pretty sure these are exactly the same. I don't have the new ones with me yet. They're coming tomorrow, but they are not as thick as these. They should say Denso here on the plastic part. And there should be a hole on the end of it. They say these replace that part. They say they don't make the ones with the hole anymore or something. I don't know, I think it's BS. Yeah, I kept one of the old ones in there, one of the new ones, because I broke one of the new ones. And did a new wiring harness and it didn't fix the problem, so hopefully we'll have the Denso ones in tomorrow and it should fix the problem, but it's pretty straightforward. You just do everything we just did in reverse. Make sure you clean off the surfaces for the gaskets and replace those. I recommend Fel-Pro. I don't know the model number, but or the part number, but you could find that online. Just get a good quality set. You can get Toyota OEM too. This was about $100 for all 4 of them. Yeah, so that's the easy way of doing knock sensors without taking apart the fuel rails and stuff. If I wasn't filming, it would have taken me probably less than an hour. Now's a good time to do your valve cover gaskets too. They're right there. You can get to all the bolts. Mine are fine though, so I'm not going to do that. So yeah, hope this video was helpful.